everyone, I welcome you all to another episode of Know Your Alumni Season 3. Today we have with us Siddharth Rohilla sir. Sir has completed his B.Tech from NIFTEM in the year 2016 and is now working with Sony Pictures Network. Hello sir, how are you doing?
Hi Devesh, I'm very well. Thank you so much for having me today. And I hope things are great at your end as well.
Sir, tell us about your journey and experiences at NIFTEM.
For sure. So, first of all, let me confess that it's always a special feeling to be back to the NIFTEM community. And especially if you're from the very first batch, the pioneer batch. And, having seen the institution grow along with ourselves, it's always special to, connect back to the fraternity. So right at the outset, I'd like to thank the alumni community as well as the team KY for organizing this and bringing the alumni of NIFTEM under one banner. So to answer your question, Devesh, my journey of NIFTEM was one of its kind, and it was as special as it could get. So not because of the fact that the institution catered to a unique pedagogy and unique set of subjects and curriculum, but also because at the heart of every experience that all of us students underwent, there was exploration. Exploration of how do you make things possible, of how do you collaborate with the faculty, with the administration, and create experiences that would not just be memorable for all of us as a batch, but also for the students and batches to follow. Secondly, there was self-discovery, because for us students who were right out of our comfort zone of our homes, we were involved in making things possible, and in turn we were discovering so many aspects about ourselves. We were discovering the critical life skill of negotiation, of communication, of hustling, right? And village adoption just topped on top of those skills, right? So NIFTEM for me was pretty much like a launch pad. It was a training ground that helped me prepare for what entailed in the life out of that bubble. And all of that really became one big memorable ride with the peers who represented different parts of the country, had different stories to share, and that added all the more richness and diversity to the learning experience. And add to that the faculty who enabled us not just to give our best in imbibing what the academics had to offer, but also prompting us every day to evolve and develop ourselves in a holistic and well-rounded fashion. So that encapsulated the gist of whatever I absorbed at NIFTEM, and I still cherish all of that till today.
After your B.Tech, you worked with a startup in IIMA. Please tell us about it.
Right. So there was a startup called Kanna Candy, which received its initial incubation at CIE, the Center of Innovation, Incubation and Entrepreneurship, which is the incubation cell housed at the IIMA campus. And back in the day, it picked up interns from the B.Tech batch of 2013. I was roped in a bit later to handle the sales and marketing side of the business. And this was after I transitioned from my operations stint at ITC. The business was very unique, as I've observed even back in the day, because it was trying to create a proposition in the confectionery business, which at the time wasn't explored before. So it was trying to create a vegan gummy candy, with completely clean vegetarian ingredients, and that is unlike the Haribos and gummy bears of the world, which has gelatin as an element. So a large part of the consumer base of Gujarat is vegetarian, the Jain community, right? So it was trying to pilot its product there, and in understanding the business, I was instrumental in developing its online sales channels. For the first time, I was establishing the relationships and the network with the vendors, and a lot about the content strategy, the branding, the marketing bit of the product was something that I explored back in the day. And all in all, that created the very foundation of why I would want to pursue marketing and advertising, and why would I want to understand more about branding later. So those were the foundations of my work experience at Kanna Candy, and that led into my decision to go to MICA later.
Sir, when did you finally decided to go for an MBA and your journey to MICA?
So Devesh, MBA was always on the cards when I was studying at NIFTEM. And the good thing about NIFTEM was the fact that it introduced you both to the technical aspects of the domain, right? At the same time, it would enable you to understand what are the managerial aspects surrounding it, right? Essentially, creating techno managers of the future. So subjects like marketing management, communication and negotiation, business laws, they grab my interest a bit more. And although I began my journey on the technical side, but the nuances of understanding the business, the supply chain of the business, how brands impact perception and create a lasting, change in a consumer behavior, all of that kept on intriguing me until my preschool journey. So after my stint at Karna Candy and later at CIE, that's when I thought that I would pursue branding and marketing in a serious way. And then 2017 was a time when I was preparing full blown for the B School examinations. And July of 2018 was when I initiated my journey at MICA.
Tell us about the procedure through which we can enter prestigious institutes like MICA.
See, so MICA is a very unique B school in itself, unlike your regular B school. So understandably, it has a bit of an elaborate 4-stage selection process. So typically, a candidate has to appear for either CAT or ZAT, right, as a preliminary requirement. It is then followed by MICA's very own test called MICAT. Now, apart from your regular, sections of quant, of verbal, of LR and DI, MICAT also tests a candidate's divergent and creative thinking skills with a writing section, right? So back when I appeared for MICAT, you would get a set of 4 discordant images, and within a very short span of time, you would have to create a compelling story out of that. So that is one unique section. And the second one, and which is, by the way, also much discussed in the B School community, is the psychometric test. So this test basically assesses your psyche, a candidate's psyche, and in which direction a person is likely tend to think in different situations. So this counts for MICAT. Now, both these scores, they come together to create a composite score, which then leads you to the group exercise and personal interview. Now, group exercise essentially involves creating a cohort of 10 folks from the institution side, and you would be given a task. And that task could range from anything that would test your skills of leadership, your skills of creating a common consensus, your skills of crisis handling, etc. And you'd be given a limited amount of time. So once you're done, your outcome is assessed by the moderators. This is then finally followed by a personal interview. And mind you, group exercise is not eliminative in nature. If you enter the GEPI stage, every candidate would go through GE and PI as far as the process at my time was concerned. PI, of course, is all the rules for the personal interview hold true. You fill up a form that has your likes and dislikes and certain description about your journey, and that's one way in which you can revolve the narrative in your own favor. But then, as all personal interview goes, it can go in any direction, and one should be braced to navigate the journey that way. And finally, basis all of these different processes, which have their different set of weightages, the candidates get a merit call, whether they are admitted or not. So that's entirely the process of MICA's admission.
Sir, how is the course that MICA is offering different from other B schools that are present in our country?
So MICA is perhaps the only institution that caters to excellence in strategic marketing and communication in largely the Asia Pacific region. So in the industry, it began as a communication school that caters to the advertising excellence. It started off with Mudra, catered to pretty much the entire human talent in the advertising industry of the country. But then over the years, it developed excellence. It developed its talent in pretty much every aspect of marketing and communication of the industry. So right from the fact of instilling the fundamentals of marketing research to account handling of advertising bit to FMCG branding, everything under the umbrella of marketing is covered in the first year, right? And the second year involves a student to pick up a specialization from the 4 available topics. So one is advertising and brand management, the other is digital communication management, third is marketing analytics, and fourth is media and entertainment. So in that way, a student gets to understand in totality about what it entails to be a marketer through and through. And every student then is turned out as a very refined professional who has a bent of creative thinking as well as the business problem solving skills. So that is all about what makes this institution very unique from the other B schools.
So tell us about your journey to Sony Pictures Network and what happened during placements in MICA.
My journey to Sony Pictures was, undecided. Like it had no background per se, but the journey began, I think, right when I took admission at MICA, right? So July of 2018 was when the session commenced, and Sony Pictures case study competition, the next big thing, was one of the first few competition that was rolled out. And I think most of the viewers would be aware that B schools have case study competitions as one of the spot highlights, right? Not just because it gives you a real-time exposure to business problem-solving skills and teamwork, but it also leads to opportunities like pre-placement interviews and pre-placement offers. So the next big thing was rolled out in August of 2018, and pretty much every student on the batch was kicked to be part of that because it was revolving around very exciting content problem-solving propositions. So one was pertaining to WWE, the other was pertaining to Sony Live, the other was pertaining to sports, and every 90s kid who has grown up watching such content would be instantly able to relate. So the entire campus was abuzz with the Sony Pictures proposition. I obviously took part in that, and as luck would have it, I was adjudged as a national finalist of this competition, which then led me to a pre-placement interview for the summer internship that was to follow in summers of 2019. I cleared the interview. I landed an internship with Sony Pictures, and my work led me to receive the award of High Impact Project Award from the CEO, Mr. N.P. Singh, and that converted into a pre-placement offer. And I think July of 2020 was when I joined the company, and it has been close to 2 years now with the company, and every day is as fantastic and as enriching as it could get.
Sir, as people got to know that you were coming, so we all are Amitabh sir fan. So please tell us about your work experience with KBC, and we all want to hear about that.
The opportunity to work at KBC was a very humbling experience, to say the least. A property that has such a rich legacy attached to it, which shapes narratives and dreams and aspirations of so many citizens across the country. It was a fantastic experience if I look back. I was primarily handling the client solutions for the show, essentially working day in and day out with the brands that make the show possible from the revenue point of view. And overall, what stayed with me was the hustling bit of it. What stayed with me was the relentless creative ideation, execution, and the entire planning bit of it. You create the ideas, you discuss, you ensure that the proposition is as refined and as sharp as possible. And the feeling that you get when you see those solutions come alive on national television was as enthralling as it could get. So that was an experience in itself. And on a larger way, it instilled in me the confidence of how content is literally the bedrock of changing narratives in the entire world, right? KBC is one prominent example of it. And we have so many such examples of content, both on the television front as well as on the digital front. So content, stories, aspects of different culture that are strewn around the country. These are, I think, the very tools for us to create a lasting change in the times to come. So KBC experience was the hallmark of all these learnings from it.
So tell us about your present work with Sony Pictures Network and the role that you are playing there.
I'm part of the brand solutions team, right, which caters to the larger revenue generation for the different divisions, which is largely the ad sales division, right? So we ensure that the clients find the right creative fitment with the content that we have, right? And Sony prides itself in the excellence of content across different genres, right? Whether it is your general entertainment content, whether it is sports, whether it is Sony Live, everybody of us has, been privy to such content pretty much since our childhood, right? And now we've seen the likes of Scam, we've seen the likes of Rocket Boys, we've seen the likes of, the KBC Indian Idol on TV. So that's the excellence of content that we've sharpened, we've evolved with, and we've really excelled in over the years. The point now is to ensure that the brands, with their own evolving set of fundamentals and priorities, find the right creative fitment with the content. Because in today's time, with the evolving TG content, the brands don't just want a mere verbal mention. They want a very seamless integration with the content. And that's where my team comes into the scene, where we ideate, we work very closely with the agencies, we work very closely with the brands to come up with solutions that not just give value to them as clients, but give entire value to the network in itself. So that the content and revenue, they are in a very sustainable association for the long term.
Sir, your most memorable memory associated with NIFTEM?
It's very difficult to pinpoint, but at the heart of everything, I remember hustling came very naturally to me, and I'm sure a lot of us, because a lot of the first for the campus was obviously first for us, right? There was nothing that was preset out there. There was nothing that was laid out for us, and it was imperative that we had to create those experiences by ourselves, right? Fortunately, the faculty, the administration were supportive. There were obviously clashes. There were obviously discussions that involved a lot of deliberation. But all in all, the professors were really supportive and really helpful. Hustling was there, right, at the heart of it. I remember, being involved in music right from the initial days. We set up the music committee with the help of Professor Tripti and the other faculty in the administration and the cultural team. So that was a memorable part, because you need to enable the music performances on campus. You need to ensure that everything happens seamlessly end to end from the operational standpoint. I also remember playing hours of table tennis on campus. So luckily I found few folks who were as enthusiastic about the sport as I was. And time was not a constraint back then. There were no such hard deadlines that you find in your real life or work experience, or you find that in B schools. So sports, music, and in general, the freedom to make mistakes, the freedom to explore the world out there without any inhibitions. Those were the memories that I enjoy till date.
So we all know that you were involved in a lot of extracurricular activities during your duration at NIFTEM, and one was guitar playing. So I can see a guitar in your room. If it would be possible for you to play it for us, it would be great, sir.
Absolutely. I knew that question was coming up, Devesh, from you. So luckily I had my classical guitar with me by my side. So I'll try and play some tunes for you all. So
sure, sir.
I hope you like it.
was truly awesome. Like, I enjoyed it personally a lot, and I feel that NIFTEMites will also like enjoy this guitar playing session truly from this interview.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Sir, in the end, message for your junior NIFTEMites.
Devesh, this is something which I've always, advised my mentees and juniors. The fact is that one's early 20s, it's all about for one to be fearless in exploring the world and, in turn, your own self. Because while ideally and philosophically speaking, this is true for one's whole life, right? When you're out of the college, but especially when you're out of home in your early 20s and you're out of your safety net, that's when inculcating this spirit makes all the more sense. And besides, in this ever evolving so-called VUCA world, the best gift that one can give oneself, right, in the early college years is the freedom to explore, make choices devoid of what the world would think, and be relentlessly focused on what makes sense to you, even if it entails making mistakes. Because Devesh, what matters more is not the fact that you made mistakes or you fell or you met a fate that was not intended. But what matters, in fact, in the long run, is the fact that you had the gut to explore, and the fact that you got up, you licked your wounds, you dusted yourself, and then you rose above the odds like how a phoenix does from its ashes, right? So finally, as the world gets more and more connected with the free flow of information, and all of us young Gen Zs and millennials are privy to the fact, we have our smartphones, we are digitally savvy folks, it's imperative for the young students in today's time to have an open mind, Devesh, and to be devoid of preconceived notions and biases, which is, not coloring one's perception of what appears on the surface. Because I believe that the very hallmark of being knowledgeable and not just educated is to have that critical mindset to question opinions, to question what appears, and to challenge the status quo. Because that becomes the fundamental ingredient of how one can really create a lasting impact on the society and bring true justice to the kind of privilege and the kind of education that we've received from the great professors and from the great minds. So these are just 2 cents from my end, Devesh, which I've really found useful over the years. And I'm really hopeful that the viewers who are watching this take one bit of usefulness from this.
It was a wonderful session with you, sir. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Devesh. Thank you for having me. And again, my gratitude goes out to the alumni committee, to the entire NIFTEM fraternity, and to the team at KYF for organizing this, even despite the pandemic, and organizing this in a remote fashion. So good job, all of you guys.